Hello and welcome to Harry Huffy's Top 10 Best First Views of 2018. First off, I'd like to apologize for my bad pronunciation on the word 2018 on my last video, Top 10 Worst First Views of 2018. I never spoke about any other year except 2018, so if you heard 2019, 2080, then what I really meant to say was 2018. Feel free to check out that last video, Top 10 Worst First Views of 2018. Now on to Top 10 Best First Views of 2018. Number 10, Teen Titans Judas Contract. I didn't know much about the Teen Titans before I watched this movie, and to be fair, I don't know a whole lot more now. But anyhow, obviously I didn't expect much from this movie. To my surprise, this movie turned out to be my favorite superhero cartoon movie of the year, 2018. The animation in this movie it's pretty good, even though the rocks look kind of ugly. The best part of the movie, however, is that the story touches me to tears. This is something that I've really learned to appreciate lately. Number 9. Anchorman 2. This movie also made me cry, but for a whole other reason. This was one seriously hilarious movie. I laughed so hard I started crying or shedding tears. This movie also gave me some insight to what might be wrong with the news reports in America. But since I live in Sweden, I can't really tell you how trustworthy the movie is on that point. It's a comedy movie, so probably not much. And I'm probably biased because I don't watch the news in general, and why should I? Number 8, Rain on Me. Yet another movie that touched those heartstrings of mine and kind of made me cry. Also, this movie included the song Love, Rain Over Me. The movie features Adam Sandler, who I've heard a lot of criticisms against in later years, mostly against his acting and the movies he's in. I can't say I agree, and even if I did agree with the criticism, it needs to be said, the man has some excellent taste in music. On to number 7, God's Not Dead 2. I find courtroom movies interesting for some reason, and this was obviously no exception. Also, I find it interesting that the same actress that played Sabrina the Teenage Witch is now the main lead in a Christian movie. That being said, I kind of feel like this movie shouldn't be this high up on my list. Kind of feels like I'm biased to it because I'm a Christian. But I said no editing, so no editing. And maybe that's for the best, because the reason I want to pull it down out of the my top 10 is because of stuff I've heard from other reviewers. And that shouldn't really affect my list, should it? No, probably shouldn't. Number 6, The Last Starfighter. Now, I've heard about this movie before I watched this, was that it featured a lot of CGI, pardon my French, instead of, practical effects. So I bought this thinking it will probably be kind of bad. But man, I was in for a surprise. From the start of the movie, when you see a dog sleeping, lying on his back, to the end credits, I was loving this movie all the way. In the end, I was smiling so hard, it kind of hurt my jaw. The message in the movie to grab your destiny with both hands when it comes knocking at you resonates really well with me. And I really like the community the main protagonist lives in, or the main character, where everybody gathers around the arcade machine when the high score is about to be beaten. There's this cool alien co-pilot that has this delightful laugh and a wonderful positive personality to go along with it. In average, or throughout the movie, the dialogue is smart, quick, and funny. And of course, this is a movie made in the 80s that takes place in space. That's basically my favorite genre, if that is a genre. Number 5, Boy and His Beast. This movie is not the best I've seen when it comes to animation, but it's not bad. I just prefer the more classical animation style that is used in old Ghibli films. This was kind of a funny movie, but above all, guess what? Yeah. It touched those heartstrings of mine. Now, I don't think I was crying when I watched this movie because I watched it with a friend and I'm kind of too much of a coward to show my tears in public. So, I might wanted to cry, but I probably didn't. And when I watched this, I kind of found a message in the movie that I really like because I'm a Christian. And I'm not going to tell you what the message is because that would kind of spoil the movie. But I will say this, it is weird that I managed to find a Christian message not only in a Japanese movie, but in this specific Japanese movie. Go ahead and give it a watch and maybe you'll get what I'm talking about here. Number 4, Psychokinesis. Now, my problem with superheroes movies is that the powers are too much over the top. Movies like Man of Steel start looking like Dragon Ball Z, and I don't really care for that kind of action. So it's nice to watch a more grounded superhero movie. And yes, this one also made me cry. Well done, Korea. Number 3, What Dreams May Come. If you don't like movies that make you cry, then do not watch this movie. Unlike the previous movies that just made me cry, this one had me basically crying throughout the whole movie. It was one sad thing after another. And besides that, the movie also had some beautiful scenery. The story in the movie kind of reminded me a lot about ALCF's recent sermons about marriage. But I can't agree with how this movie well, how do you say this movie? Well, I can't agree with this movie's view on life after death. Also, I was kind of sad that this movie was so good because it meant I have to push out the Bohemian Rhapsody out of my top 10. And I kind of wanted to include that movie in my top 10, so... Why were you so good? Stupid movie. Number 2. The Fundamentals of Caring. Now this movie made me both laugh and cry. I might have laughed so hard that I actually started crying. It seems like laughing and crying are my favorite things to do. So, what could beat a movie that has both laughing and crying? Number 1. Ikiru, To Live. A movie that doesn't necessarily make you cry, but what it does is it set a straight example of what kind of life is worth living. This movie is one of those good old movies that stood the test of time, not because of the scenery, the motion, or the cool camera angles, but because the story is just that strong, and it relates, or at least should relate, to everyone. How are you living your life? This is a question everyone should ask themselves. What is worth doing, and to what price? The main character in this movie finds his way and sets a fine example to at least how I would like to live my life. And that is why Ikiru, To Live is the best first view movie of 2018. Next up, Queen. What song am I humming?